The great halls of Nexus Prime had never seen such darkness. Commander Thane stood at the center of the Galactic Council chamber, his once bright blue uniform now torn and stained with the ash of burning worlds. Around him, representatives from across the galaxy sat in their floating seats, their faces showing the same exhaustion that had consumed them all. 3 years. 3 long years of war against an enemy they barely understood. The Void Collective had appeared at the edge of the galaxy like a storm of living shadow, consuming everything in their path. They did not negotiate. They did not communicate. They simply took. "Honorable Council members," Thane began, his voice cracking with fatigue, "the Relorian Defense Fleet is no more. Our homeworld of Rilos Prime fell 6 days ago. We watched from our escape pods as the void ships drained every spark of life from our planet until it became a cold, dead rock floating in space." Ambassador Vera of the Melodian Empire leaned forward in her crystalline chair. Her people were known for their peaceful ways and their beautiful singing voices that could calm even the wildest beasts. But there was no song in her voice now, only fear. "The numbers speak for themselves," she said, activating a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. 70% of our combined fleets are gone. 43 colony worlds have been consumed. The void moves closer to our core systems every day. The display showed a map of the galaxy with large sections marked in black. These were the dead zones where the void had passed through. No life remained in those areas. No energy signatures. No hope. Elder Krez of the Axiom Republic, whose people had lived for thousands of years and seen countless wars, spoke with a voice that trembled despite his age and wisdom. "In all our history, we have never faced an enemy like this. They do not want our territory or our resources. They want our very essence, our life force itself." Captain Dane of the Corvin military nodded grimly. His ship had been one of the few to escape a void attack with survivors. "My crew saw what they do," he said. "The void ships don't just destroy, they feed. They attach these dark tentacles to our vessels and drain them until even the metal becomes brittle and falls apart. It's like they're eating the energy that holds atoms together." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Outside the great windows, they could see the defense fleets of dozens of worlds gathering around Nexus Prime. It looked impressive, but everyone knew it would not be enough. The Void had destroyed larger fleets with ease. "There must be something we can do," said General Rivera of the Outer Colonies, slamming her fist on her chair's armrest. "Some weapon we haven't tried, some strategy we haven't considered." Ambassador Vera pulled up another display, this one showing their weapons testing. "Results: we have tried everything. Energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, nuclear devices, even experimental gravity bombs, nothing works. The void creatures absorb the energy from our attacks and become stronger." Dr. Phillips, the galaxy's leading expert on alien biology, stood up slowly. He had spent months studying captured void samples, and the results had aged him terribly. "They are not like any life form we understand. They exist by consuming the bioelectric energy that powers all living things. Every shot we fire, every engine we run near them, only feeds their hunger." The chamber erupted in frustrated voices, as representatives argued and pleaded for solutions that did not exist. Some suggested retreating to the furthest corners of the galaxy. Others wanted to try diplomatic contact, though no one had ever received a response from the Void. A few even suggested surrender, hoping the creatures might spare some worlds if offered others freely. Through all this chaos, Elder Krez sat quietly, his ancient eyes focused on something the others could not see. Finally, he raised one wrinkled hand, and the chamber fell silent out of respect for his age and wisdom. "There is one option we have not discussed," he said softly. "One people we have not asked for help." The silence that followed was different. Now, it was the silence of a terrible possibility that everyone had been avoiding. "You cannot mean ... Dumbus Ambassador Vera began. "The humans," Elder Krez said simply. The reaction was immediate. Representatives jumped to their feet, voices raised in protest and fear. Commander Thane looked confused, but Captain Dane's face had gone pale. The humans were quarantined for good reason, shouted General Rivera. First contact with them was a disaster. They showed capabilities that terrified our best analysts. Their aggression levels, their weapons technology, their complete disregard for diplomatic protocols. Dr. Phillips nodded vigorously. The psychological profiles were clear. Humans evolved from a world of constant warfare. They think in terms of violence and conflict in ways that peaceful species cannot understand. That is why Earth was marked as off-limits to all galactic contact. But Elder Krez held up his hand again. Perhaps, he said slowly, that is exactly what we need now. Ambassador Vera's voice was barely a whisper. You want to unleash a species of warriors against the void? What if they decide we are their next target after the war is won? What if there is no after the war without them? Elder Krez replied, the void will reach Nexus Prime within 2 weeks. After that, they will consume the core worlds. Our peaceful civilization will be extinct within a month. The chamber's great doors suddenly hissed open, and every head turned to see who would interrupt such an important meeting. A figure in a strange, form-fitting suit walked calmly down the center aisle. The suit was unlike anything they had seen. Made of a material that seemed to shimmer between black and silver, the figure removed her helmet, revealing a human face with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. She looked young, but her movements showed the confidence of someone used to command. Honorable Council, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber despite her small size compared to most of the alien representatives. My name is Captain Nina of the Earth Monitoring Division. We have been listening to your discussions about the Void War. The chamber erupted again, but this time in shock rather than argument. How had a human ship gotten past all their security? How long had they been watching? Captain Nina continued as if she had not heard the commotion. Earth has been observing this conflict for some time. We have seen your losses, studied your enemy, and prepared our response. Elder Krez leaned forward, his eyes bright with desperate hope. Are you saying humanity will help us? Nina smiled, and for the first time in months, someone in the chamber looked truly confident. Elder Krez, we have been waiting for you to ask. Our ships are already in position. She activated a small device on her wrist, and the chamber's main display changed to show a tactical readout that made every military officer present gasp in amazement. Ships unlike anything in their databases appeared on the screen, positioned at strategic points throughout the local star systems. How many? Commander Thane asked, his voice full of wonder. Enough, Nina replied simply. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives who had thought their civilization was doomed. The question is not whether we can defeat the Void Collective. The question is whether you are ready to see how humans fight when the galaxy's survival is at stake. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, President Hayes stood in a room that officially did not exist. The walls were lined with screens showing star maps, tactical analyses, and real-time feeds from across the galaxy. For 3 years, humanity had been watching the Void War unfold, studying every battle, learning from every defeat. Madam President, General Marcus said, stepping forward with a datapad in his hands. Captain Nina has made contact with the Galactic Council. They have formally requested our assistance. Hayes nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving the main display that showed void forces moving toward the galactic core. How long until they reach Nexus Prime? 12 days, maybe 13 if the alien fleets can slow them down, Marcus replied. But our analysis suggests the Council's remaining forces won't last more than 6 hours in direct combat. The President turned to face the room full of Earth's top military commanders and scientists. These people had spent years preparing for this moment, knowing it would eventually come. The galaxy's peaceful species had never understood that sometimes violence was the only answer to violence. Dr. Rebecca, Hayes called to a woman in a white lab coat who stood near a sealed chamber glowing with strange blue light. Is Project Prometheus ready? Dr. Rebecca smiled for the first time in months. More than ready, Madam President. The tests have exceeded all our expectations. Human neural patterns generate exactly the type of energy signature we hoped for. She activated the chamber's display system, showing complex wave patterns that pulsed with life. Every human brain produces bioelectric energy, but it's not just random electrical activity. Our thoughts, our emotions, our determination create a specific frequency that actually strengthens other life forms instead of weakening them. General Marcus stepped closer to examine the readings. And this energy can power our ships? Better than that, Dr. Rebecca explained, her excitement growing. Ships powered by human consciousness can't be drained by the void creatures. When they try to feed on our energy, they actually get pushed away. It's like trying to drink poison for them. Admiral Torres, a stern woman with silver hair and countless battle scars, studied the tactical displays. Our fleet construction is complete. We have 200 vessels equipped with Prometheus drives, each one crewed by volunteers who understand they're risking their lives. Hayes walked over to a window that looked out onto a massive underground hangar. Ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen sat in neat rows, their hulls gleaming with a strange metallic surface that seemed to pulse with inner light. These ships are different from anything we've built before, Admiral Torres continued. The hulls are made from a biometal alloy that responds to human neural activity. The weapon systems are powered directly by the crew's emotional state. The angrier they get, the more determined they become, the stronger the ship becomes. Dr. Rebecca pulled up another display showing crew training sessions. We've discovered that certain human emotions are more effective against the void than others. Protective instincts, the desire to save others, the refusal to give up even when everything seems hopeless. These feelings create energy signatures that are toxic to void creatures. President Hayes watched the training footage with amazement. Human crews were learning to focus their thoughts and emotions into weapons of incredible power. A single ship powered by a crew's determination to protect their families could generate enough energy to destroy void vessels 10 times its size. What about the risks? She asked. Using human consciousness as a power source sounds dangerous? General. Marcus nodded grimly. There are risks. Crews can become exhausted if they push too hard. In extreme cases, they might burn out their neural pathways completely. But every volunteer knows the stakes. If we don't stop the void here, Earth will be their next target. A communication alert sounded throughout the facility. Captain Nina's voice came through the speakers, reporting from her ship near Nexus Prime. Earth. Command, this is Captain Nina. The Galactic Council has agreed to our terms. They're giving us full tactical command of the remaining alien fleets. However, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive void formation moving toward Vanguard Station. Admiral Torres quickly brought up the tactical display showing Vanguard Station's position. It was the last major defensive point before the void could reach the inner systems. If Vanguard falls, she said quietly, nothing stands between the void and a billion civilians on the core worlds. President Hayes made her decision. Admiral, deploy Strike Group Alpha immediately. How long until they can reach Vanguard Station? 6 hours at maximum speed, Torres replied. But that's cutting it very close. Our intelligence suggests the void will begin their assault within 4 hours. Colonel Blake, commander of Strike Group Alpha, stepped forward. He was a veteran of Earth's conflicts, a man who had seen combat on 3 continents and never lost a battle. His ship, the Defiance, was humanity's most advanced warship. My crews are ready, Madam President, Blake said firmly. We've been training for this moment for 2 years. The Prometheus drives are charged, the weapon systems are online. And every person on those ships knows exactly what they're fighting for. Dr. Rebecca handed Blake a small device that glowed with the same blue light as the main chamber. This is a neural amplifier. If your crew focuses their thoughts through it, you can boost your ship's power output by 300%. But use it carefully. Too much strain and you could lose crew members. Hayes looked around the room at the faces of humanity's best and brightest. These people had spent years preparing for a war they hoped would never come. Now it was here, and Earth's future depended on their success. Colonel Blake, she said officially, You are authorized to engage the Void Collective with full force. Show the galaxy what humans can do when everything we care about is threatened." Blake saluted sharply. "Yes, Madam President. Strike Group Alpha will not let you down." As Blake and his officers left to board their ships, Admiral Torres activated the global communication system. Across Earth, in every major city and military base, screens lit up with the Admiral's image. "This is Admiral Torres speaking to all Earth forces. The galaxy is under attack by an enemy that feeds on life itself. Our allies have asked for our help, and we will not refuse them. Today, humanity goes to war not for conquest or glory, but to protect innocent lives across the stars." In the underground hangar, the first ships began to move. Their engines hummed with a sound unlike any conventional drive system. It was the sound of human consciousness transformed into raw power, of determination and courage becoming fuel for humanity's first interstellar war. President Hayes watched through the observation windows as Strike Group Alpha launched into space. 200 ships carrying the hopes of two species rose toward the stars, their hulls glowing brighter as their crews focused their minds on the battle ahead. "How long until we know if this works?" she asked quietly. General Marcus checked his chronometer. "Colonel Blake's fleet will drop out of hyperspace at Vanguard Station in exactly 6 hours. If our theories are correct, the Void creatures will encounter something they've never faced before." Dr. Rebecca smiled grimly. "Human stubbornness weaponized into starship drives. If that doesn't work, nothing will." High above Earth, Strike Group Alpha engaged their Prometheus drives and disappeared into hyperspace, carrying humanity's answer to the galaxy's darkest hour. Lieutenant Commander Mason gripped the controls of the stealth ship Phantom as it slipped through the dead system that had once been called Korath. 3 months ago, this place had been home to 6 billion people. Now it was nothing but cold. Rocks floating in space, drained of all life by the Void Collective. "Sensors are picking up movement ahead," reported Engineer Alexis from her station behind him. "Multiple Void signatures, but they're not moving in attack formation. It looks like they're harvesting something." Mason leaned forward to study the scanner display. The Phantom was humanity's most advanced reconnaissance vessel, designed to slip undetected through enemy territory. Its hull was coated with a special material that absorbed sensor waves, making it nearly invisible to conventional detection methods. "What could they be harvesting from a dead system?" asked Pilot Owen, adjusting their course to avoid a cluster of Void ships in the distance. Through the view screen they could see the Void vessels at work. The ships were massive, dark creatures that looked more grown than built. Long tentacles extended from their bodies, touching the surfaces of dead planets and drawing streams of energy into their cores. "They're not just destroying worlds," Alexis said quietly, studying her readings. "They're storing the energy they drain. Look at these power signatures. Each of those ships is carrying enough energy to power a small star." Mason had been chosen for this mission because of his experience with deep space reconnaissance. He had mapped unknown sectors, studied alien civilizations, and survived encounters that would have killed most people. But nothing had prepared him for what they were seeing now. "Command, this is Phantom," he spoke into the communication system. "We've reached the Korath system. The Void ships are using the dead worlds as some kind of energy storage facility. They're not just destroying for destruction's sake, they have a purpose." The reply came back from Earth Command after several seconds. "Copy that, Phantom." "Can you determine their ultimate objective?" Mason looked at his crew. They had volunteered for this mission knowing they might not return. The Phantom stealth systems were good, but they had never been tested against Void detection methods. "We need to get closer," he decided. "Alexis, can you scan their energy patterns without alerting them to our presence?" "I can try," she replied, activating the ship's passive sensors. "But if they detect us, we won't be able to outrun them. Void ships are faster than anything in the known galaxy." As they moved deeper into the system, the true scope of the Void operation became clear. Hundreds of ships were systematically draining energy from every piece of matter they could find. Dead planets, asteroid fields, even the systems dying. Star was being fed upon by massive void creatures. "Mason, you need to see this," Owen called from the pilot's seat. "I'm picking up a massive energy signature from the edge of the system. It's bigger than anything we've seen before." They changed course toward the new contact, and what they found made them all fall silent. A void ship the size of a small moon, hung in space, its surface covered with thousands of smaller vessels attached like parasites. Energy flowed between them in complex patterns that hurt to look at directly. "That's their command ship," Mason whispered. "It has to be?" Alexis worked frantically at her console, trying to analyze the massive vessel without triggering its defenses. "The energy readings are incredible. This thing is carrying enough power to destroy entire star systems. But there's something else. I'm detecting organized thought patterns coming from inside it." "Thought patterns?" Owen asked. "You mean it's alive?" "More than alive," Alexis replied, her voice filled with amazement and fear. "There are millions of individual consciousness signatures inside that ship. The Void Collective isn't just a fleet of ships. It's a collection of minds all connected together." Mason felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you saying those ships are full of living beings?" Before Alexis could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the Phantom. Something had detected them. "Multiple contacts approaching fast," Owen reported, his hands flying over the controls. "Void fighters moving in from 3 directions." The main view screen lit up with incoming vessels that moved unlike anything they had ever seen. The void fighters twisted and flowed through space like living shadows, their forms shifting and changing as they closed the distance. "Evasive maneuvers," Mason ordered. "Get us out of here." But even as Owen pushed the Phantom to its maximum speed, the void fighters continued to gain ground. Their ships didn't seem to follow normal physics. They moved through space as if it were water, bending around obstacles and changing direction in ways that should have been impossible. "They're not trying to destroy us," Alexis observed, studying the enemy movement patterns. "They're trying to capture us." A new contact appeared on their sensors, much larger than the fighters. It was another void ship, but this one was different. Where the others had been purely organic in appearance, this vessel showed signs of technology mixed with biological components. "That's not like the others," Mason said. "It looks almost familiar." The new ship moved with purpose, positioning itself to cut off their escape route. As it drew closer, they could see that its hull was covered with what looked like viewing ports, as if something inside wanted to observe them directly. "Mason," Alexis said urgently, "I'm detecting something strange about our ship's energy signature. Ever since we powered up the engines, we've been producing a type of energy that's making the void creatures behave differently." "What do you mean?" "Differently? They're not trying to drain us. In fact, they seem to be avoiding direct contact with our energy field. It's like our ship is producing something that repels them." Owen suddenly understood. The Prometheus drive. "Even our conventional engines are influenced by human neural patterns. We're generating the same type of energy that the research teams discovered on Earth." The pursuing void ship fired some kind of energy net that wrapped around the Phantom. But instead of draining their power, the net began to dissolve on contact with their hull. "The energy field around our ship is actually damaging their weapons," Alexis reported with excitement. "Human neural energy is toxic to them." Mason made a decision that would change everything. Instead of continuing to flee, he turned the Phantom around and flew directly at the largest void ship. "What are you doing?" Owen shouted. "Testing a theory," Mason replied grimly. "If our energy field damages their weapons, what happens if we get close enough to touch their hull?" The Phantom approached the massive void vessel, and as they drew near, something extraordinary happened. The dark surface of the enemy ship began to bubble and writhe as if in pain. Sections of its hull started to crack and peel away, revealing a lighter material underneath. "It's working," Alexis said in amazement. "Our presence is actually hurting them." But their victory was short-lived. From the depths of space, an even larger shape began to emerge. It was the moon-sized command ship they had observed earlier, and it was moving directly toward them. New contact, Owen reported, his voice tight with fear. It's the big one, and it's bringing friends. Through the communication system, they heard something that made their blood run cold. A voice, speaking in perfect English, came from the massive void ship. Humans, the voice said, ancient and filled with hunger. We have been waiting to meet you. Captain Lewis stood on the bridge of the assault ship Retribution as 12 human fleets prepared to attack void strongholds across the galaxy. The plan was bold and dangerous, but it was their only chance to save the remaining alien worlds before the void consumed everything. All fleet commanders report ready, announced Communications Officer Rita from her station. Strike teams are in position at targets Alpha through Lima. Lewis studied the tactical display showing human ships spread across multiple star systems. Each fleet was small compared to the massive void armadas, but they carried something the enemy had never encountered before, weapons powered by human determination. This is Captain Lewis to all human forces, he spoke into the fleet communication system. Today we show the galaxy what happens when Earth goes to war. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every species that calls this galaxy home. On the planet Grimhold, Sergeant Tyler crouched behind a barrier of twisted metal, watching void creatures advance across the battlefield. This was the first time any galactic force had attempted ground combat against the void, and Tyler's Marines were about to find out if humans could survive direct contact with the enemy. Contact in 30 seconds, whispered Corporal Jane through the communication system. Remember, stay close together. Our energy fields are stronger when we work as a team. The void infantry moved like living shadows, flowing across the ground without making a sound. They had no visible weapons, but every alien force that had faced them on the ground had been drained of life within minutes. Tyler raised his rifle, a weapon designed specifically for fighting the void. Instead of conventional ammunition, it fired concentrated bursts of human neural energy. The power came directly from the soldier's own mind, turning thoughts and emotions into deadly projectiles. Open fire, Tyler ordered. The Marines opened fire, and something incredible happened. The energy bursts from their weapons struck the void creatures and made them stumble backward. For the first time in the war, void infantry was being pushed back instead of advancing. They're retreating, Jane said in amazement. The void creatures are actually running away from us. Meanwhile, in space above 12 different worlds, human fleets engaged void armadas in simultaneous battles. The strategy had been developed by Earth's top military minds. Instead of fighting defensively like the alien species, humans would attack aggressively and force the void to respond to their moves. Commander Sarah piloted her fighter through a swarm of void vessels, her ships. Prometheus' drive glowing brighter as her determination grew stronger. Every time a void creature tried to drain her ship's energy, the neural field around her fighter pushed it away. "This is incredible," she reported to her squadron. "They can't touch us. Every time they try to feed on our ships, they get hurt instead." Dr. Patricia worked frantically in her laboratory aboard the research vessel Discovery, analyzing data from the ongoing battles. What she was discovering would change everything they knew about the Void War. "The energy signatures are clear," she told her team of scientists. "Human neural activity produces a type of bioelectric field that reverses the Void's entropy effects. We're not just immune to their drain attacks, we can actually heal the damage they've done." She activated a display showing a planet that had been partially consumed by the Void. "Look at this. Areas where human ships have passed are showing signs of recovery. Plant life is growing back, water is returning to dried lake beds, even the atmosphere is becoming breathable again." The implications were staggering. Humans weren't just weapons against the Void. They were the cure for everything the Void had destroyed. Back on Grimhold, Sergeant Tyler led his Marines in a charge against the retreating Void creatures. What they discovered would shock the entire galaxy. "Sergeant," called Private Mark, kneeling beside a fallen Void creature, "this thing isn't what we thought it was." Tyler approached carefully, his weapon ready. The Void creature was dissolving, its dark exterior melting away to reveal something underneath. It looked almost human, but pale and thin, as if it had been starved for years. "It's a person," Tyler said quietly. "The void creatures are people, transformed by whatever controls them." Dr. Patricia's voice came through their communication system. "Sergeant Tyler, we're detecting massive energy changes in your area. The void creatures you've defeated are reverting to their original forms." Tyler looked around the battlefield and saw that she was right. Everywhere human Marines had fought, the dark void creatures were changing back into recognizable alien species. They were weak and confused, but they were alive. "Command, this is Tyler. The void infantry aren't separate creatures. They're transformed. Civilians from the worlds the void has conquered. We're not just fighting the enemy, we're rescuing their prisoners." In space, the battles were turning in humanity's favor across all 12 systems. Captain Lewis watched his tactical display as void ships began retreating from human attacks. But the victory was revealing something troubling. "Sir," reported Lieutenant David from the sensor station, "long-range scanners are detecting a massive void fleet massing at the edge of the galaxy. It's bigger than all the forces we've faced combined." Lewis studied the readings with growing concern. "How big?" "Thousands of ships, sir. Maybe tens of thousands. They're all moving toward one destination." The display changed to show the void fleet's trajectory, and Lewis felt his blood run cold. They were heading directly for Earth. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Lewis ordered. "The void knows where we come from now, and they're bringing everything they have." On Earth, President Hayes received the warning with grim determination. The void's response to humanity's success was exactly what they had feared: a direct assault. "On Earth itself, how long do we have?" she asked General Marcus. "Based on their current speed, maybe 18 hours, Marcus replied. "But ma'am, our defensive fleets are spread across the galaxy fighting these battles. We don't have enough ships to defend Earth against a force that large." Hayes looked at the global map showing human populations around the world. 8 billion people, all of them capable of generating the neural energy that could stop the void. "General, activate Project Lighthouse," she said firmly. "If the void wants to come to Earth, we'll show them what 8 billion human minds can do when they work together." Dr. Rebecca, who had been monitoring the conversation, stepped forward with excitement and fear. "Madam President, we've never tested the planetary defense grid with that many people connected to it. The energy output could be incredible, but it might also be dangerous for the participants." "How dangerous?" Hayes asked. "We don't know. This would be the largest neural energy experiment in human history. But if it works, we could create an energy field around Earth that would be visible from other galaxies." Hayes made her decision. "Do it. Contact every nation, every city, every person on Earth. Tell them the galaxy is counting on us, and we're going to show everyone what humanity can do when we fight together." Across Earth, emergency broadcast systems activated, calling every human to participate in humanity's greatest test. The void was coming to their home, bringing a force large enough to consume entire star systems, but Earth was ready to show them something they had never encountered before: an entire world of humans fighting as one. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the command ship Valiant as the largest enemy fleet in galactic history approached Earth. Through the main view screen, she could see thousands of void ships emerging from hyperspace, their dark forms blocking out entire sections of stars. "Enemy fleet strength is beyond our calculations," reported Commander Jake from the tactical station. "We're detecting over 50,000 void vessels, including their command ship. It's the size of a small planet." Torres had fought in Earth's wars for 30 years, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. Every human ship in the solar system was outnumbered 100 to 1, but they had something the void had never faced before: an entire world fighting as one mind. "Activate Project Lighthouse," she ordered. "Connect all human consciousness to the planetary defense grid." Across Earth, 8 billion people stopped what they were doing and focused their thoughts on a single purpose: protecting their home and the galaxy they had sworn to defend. In schools, offices, homes, and military bases, humans placed their hands on neural interface devices, and joined their minds to the greatest weapon ever created. The effect was immediate and visible from space. Earth began to glow with a soft blue light that grew brighter as more people connected to the defense grid. The energy field expanded outward from the planet, creating a barrier of pure human consciousness. President Hayes stood in the underground command center, her hand on the master control interface. She could feel the thoughts and emotions of billions of her fellow humans flowing through the system. Determination, hope, love for family, and an absolute refusal to surrender. "Ma'am," called Dr. Rebecca from her monitoring station, "the energy output is incredible. We're generating more power than our sun produces in a year, and it's all focused into a coherent defensive field." The Void Fleet reached Earth's outer defenses and immediately began their attack. Massive energy beams struck the blue barrier surrounding the planet, but instead of penetrating it, the attacks were absorbed and converted into even more defensive energy. "They're feeding our shield," Torres observed with amazement. "Every attack they make against us is making our defenses stronger." Captain Blake led the human fleet in a desperate charge toward the Void command ship. His vessel, the Defiance, glowed like a small star as his crew focused their combined will into the ship's weapon systems. "All ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel," Blake ordered. "If we can destroy their leader, the rest of the fleet might scatter." The human ships opened fire with weapons powered by pure determination. Energy beams created from human courage and stubbornness struck the massive Void command ship, and for the first time in the war they saw it take damage. Inside the command ship, the Void Queen felt something she had not experienced in 1,000 years: pain. The human weapons were not just attacking her ship, they were attacking the very essence of what she had become. She had once been like the humans, part of a species that valued individual thought and emotion. But when her galaxy died, she had transformed herself and her people into creatures of pure hunger, consuming other worlds to survive their endless journey through space. Now, faced with beings who generated the very energy she had lost, she felt something she thought was gone forever: regret. "Stop the attack," she commanded her fleet through their mental connection. "These humans... they are what we once were." But it was too late to stop what had already begun. Dr. Rebecca activated the final phase of Project Lighthouse from her laboratory deep beneath Earth's surface. "Initiating global consciousness link," she announced to the command center. "Every human mind on Earth is now connected to our defense grid. The energy surge should reach maximum power in 60 seconds. The blue glow around Earth suddenly expanded, racing outward through the solar system at the speed of light. When it reached the Void Fleet, something extraordinary happened. Instead of destroying the enemy ships, the human energy field began to heal them. The dark, twisted hulls started to change, revealing the original forms underneath. The Void creatures inside the ships began to remember who they had been before hunger consumed their civilization. "Torres," called Captain Blake from the Defiance, "the Void ships are changing. They're not attacking anymore." "I'm detecting life? Signs that match dozens of different species." Torres watched in wonder as the massive Void fleet transformed before her eyes. The ships became sleek and beautiful, showing the advanced technology of the civilization that had built them millennia ago. The crews inside were no longer creatures of hunger, but ordinary people from a galaxy far away. The Void Queen's command ship underwent the most dramatic change of all. Its planet-sized bulk shrank and reshaped itself into a magnificent vessel that gleamed with silver and gold. When the transformation was complete, a communication signal came from the ship. "People of Earth," came a voice that was no longer filled with hunger, but with gratitude and sorrow. "I am Elena, once queen of the Andorian Empire. We have traveled for 1,000 years, consuming worlds to fuel our journey, because we forgot what it meant to create instead of destroy." President Hayes activated the communication system from Earth's command center. "Queen Elena, this is President Hayes of Earth. Your people are welcome here, but the galaxy you have harmed needs to be healed." "We understand," Elena replied. "Your energy has reminded us of who we once were. We offer our knowledge and our ships to help repair the damage we have done. It will take years to restore the worlds we drained, but we will spend whatever time remains to us making things right." Torres looked at her chronometer and realized something incredible. From the moment the first void ship had entered Earth's solar system to the moment they surrendered, exactly 5 hours had passed. "Admiral," Commander Jake said quietly, "we're receiving signals from across the galaxy. Human fleets are reporting that void forces everywhere are surrendering and reverting to their original forms. The war is over." The transformation continued for hours as ships throughout the void fleet completed their change back to normal. Millions of beings who had been transformed into creatures of hunger were becoming themselves again, remembering families and homes they thought were lost forever. Doctor. Rebecca monitored the energy readings as the planetary defense grid powered down. "The neural field is stable. We can maintain this level of energy output indefinitely if needed, but I think the immediate crisis is over." President Hayes addressed the restored Void Fleet. "Queen Elena, your people are tired and far from home. Earth offers sanctuary while we work together to heal the galaxy." "Your generosity honors us," Elena replied. "But we must ask, how did your species develop the ability to generate such powerful life energy?" Hayes smiled, thinking of humanity's long history of struggle and survival. "We learned it the hard way, through thousands of years of protecting each other and refusing to give up hope, even when everything seemed impossible. As the combined human and former Void fleets began the long work of healing a war-torn galaxy, Torres realized that humanity had not just won a war. They had saved an entire civilization from becoming something it never wanted to be. The galaxy would remember this day as the moment when humanity proved that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from destroying your enemy, but from helping them remember who they used to be.